What is going on, guys? This is Josh here for MUTCast. Thank you for coming back. Those of you that have subscribed and been subscribers before, thank you for starting to listen to us. Those of you that haven't, if you haven't, please subscribe to us so you do get the most up-to-date content. Obviously, this podcast is a little more time-sensitive than others, and unfortunately for me, but please subscribe, write a review after you've listened to us, and enough times that you actually like us, and give me a 5-star review, because that really does help out if you like the podcast. So a little bit of a quick podcast because of the fact that there is no new content in terms of new promos. There's a few new cards that we'll go over. I'll go over the main subject. I'll touch on a few of the subjects. I think most of you are aware of. There's someone called that does Mutt Leaks out there. So I did hear an interview with him on one of the other podcasts, on the Muttman podcast. So we'll talk a little bit about that. A little bit about the Team Diamond sets, which are sort of going by the leeway, but there are a few here that do give some pretty decent rewards. So we'll touch on that as well. And then we'll do Card Wars. So right now I have lineup for Card Wars tonight for you guys. It's going to be Saquon Barkley, so the rookie premier, versus Ezekiel Elliott, the ultimate kickoff. So it's 88 Saquon versus 90 Ezekiel Elliott. We'll debate those. And that is from the Twitter poll. So if you are not following me, Gecko Gaming 06, then please do. You'll be able to vote. And I tweet these all out, all the podcasts out after. So, that will also give you a chance to see when the most up-to-date content comes out as well. And we don't, in terms of, there were a few questions in terms of game mechanics and, things to do with Mutt Leaks, but I think for right now, I'm actually going to cover that in the main subject, so I won't do any questions from the mailbag this week. I'll just wrap those right into the main content. So if you do have any questions, please send those, and we'll go over them in the next podcast. So I wanted to start with, there are a few cards that came out, not many, but there are a few cards that came out for this past week. So there was a limited time Leroy Glover, and so again, the great thing about these cards is they're a 500k quick sell. So he's only got 74 speed. Honestly, 74 is really good for defensive tackle. So I don't really have patience for people that complain about 74 speed for defensive tackle. He's got 93 strength, 91 tackle, 91 play rec, 92 power move, 92 block shed, and 81 power move, which is a finesse move, which again for defensive tackle is extremely good. I definitely like the fact that he's got 92 power move. There's a bunch of defensive tackles out there that just don't have good power or finesse move. So you really just look at a block shed. This is a guy that you can keep on the field, even in passing downs, and he's still going to be able to give you a pass rush. So I don't know that he's worth 500,000 coins, unless you're a Saints fan, maybe. And I guess that's really the problem with all these all these limited time cards. So unless really you're a YouTuber and you put a lot of content out there and your fans are asking you for certain cards, or you really are a Saints fan or have a ton of coins, I think a lot of these cards are just not really switching hands. And I don't know how to feel about that, but I have argued that plenty of times, so I'll let that go. There's a Deion Sanders that came out, definitely a fan favorite. I took a quick look at his price. He's going for a cool $1 million. So those of you that have $1 million to spare, feel free to pick him up. He's got 93 speed. Now, by the way, he is the best cover corner in the game. He's got 93 speed, 93 acceleration, and agility. 91 jump, which is actually, ridiculous. 92 play rec. His man and zone are both 92 as well. But his press is 75. So I looked earlier, his break tackle's like 42 and his tackling's like 47. His pursuit's like 72. So, he's really, you better hope he doesn't, someone doesn't catch the ball in front of him, because otherwise he is not tackling them. Although this year it does seem like there's not as many broken tackles. So, I don't know. I think a lot of people really favor that like Mount Blount type of style where like there's a guy that can hit you, so you might catch it right in front of him, but he's gonna knock it out. Dion's not gonna be your guy, but at the same time he's like such a good 92 man and 92 zone. It doesn't matter what defense you play. He's going to be one of the best players, and with 93 speed, he should lock up most receivers. 92 acceleration and agility. I know that a lot of people believe that agility really helps man coverage, because if you're more agile, you're able to change directions easier. So I would have to hope that if you do have him, he's able to lock down the other person's number one option. Donovan McNabb is kind of interesting. He's got 85 speed, which is super high for a quarterback at this time. He's 6'2". I didn't realize he was that short. I thought he was more like 6'4", but his throw power is 91. So arc short is 87. I believe the threshold's, I think it's 80, 85, and 90, or something like that. So his mid is 88, so that hits the threshold, and his throw accuracy deep is 84, which is still really good at this point in the year. I'm sure you can chem him up to probably about like 88 or so. But his throw under pressure is 87, which is really up there. So, I was surprised. I don't really remember so much like when he was under pressure, how he threw. But, that throw under pressure being around 90, there's like a few guys, I think it's like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, maybe Aaron Rodgers, that throw that well under pressure, and there's not many more. So, it definitely gives you advantage of being able to be that in the pocket passer, but at the same time, his throw on the run is 90, and his play action is 87. So he's got a pretty good mix, and with that play action at 87 and the speed at 85, it gives you some variety in terms of moving your quarterback around, trying to fake people out. And then, of course, so we got primetime performers on Thursday. The Marshawn Lynch. So I think he's a pretty good mix. He's got 88 speed, 88 acceleration, 86 agility for a power back is really good. So I know I have to preference that, but at this point in the year, he's not 90, but he's a power back. He's got 93 carrying, so he's not going to fumble, and you're able to put him on balanced or possibly even aggressive and not have him fumble that much. That gives him an advantage. He's got 67 catching, but he's not known for his catching. 85 elusiveness, 95 trekking, so that's really going to catch everyone's eye. But he's only got 86 break tackles, so I don't really know exactly what to think of this card, because the fact that I don't know with the 86 break tackle, I don't know that he's going to break that many tackles, and just to have 95 trekking but not have that high of a break tackle, I'm just not sure. I guess I've been using the rookie premier Saquon, who only has 81 break tackle, but at the same time, it's not that much higher, and it doesn't seem like Saquon breaks anyone's tackle. So I know that's probably hyperbole, but at the same time, I'm not quite sure that I want to pick that Lynch up for $500,000. And I mean, I'll certainly keep him if I get him, but I'm not sure I really want to pick him up for $500,000 for 86 break tackle. And then so there's also Marcus Peters that came out. So he's Similar to the Dion, I think it's interesting they had Marcus Peters come out and then they had Dion come out like 2 days later. He's similar to the Dion where he's got 91 man coverage, 91 man coverage, 71 would suck, and 89 zone. He's got 89 speed and 88 acceleration, 90 agility. He's only got 87 jump, but it's still good. I mean, he's 6 feet. He's got 93 play rec. He does have 92 press. So again, Dion, just to remind you, has 91 man coverage, 92 man coverage, 92 zone, but 75 press. When you look at Peters, and he also has 93 speed compared to Peters' 89, but Peters is 1 less man, 3 less zone, but his press is 92 compared to Dion's 75. So it really depends on what kind of offense you run. I think I talked about how Dion would blanket someone, but in the same sense, you don't want Dion pressing because he is going to get beat, and then you can make it up with the speed, but initially he's going to get beat there. Peters is that physical type of guy. He'll be able to take on someone that's even if it's a big wide receiver and still be able to body them up. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the MUT League. So I know he had some formulas come out. He talked about the drum with the bots, and I won't go into that. But I think one of the interesting things about the MUT Leagues and the things that are coming out is just like this information that I don't really understand why it's completely private, and I understand some of it has to do with the fact that Madden Ultimate Team really doesn't want the game being price fixed in terms of people all wanting the same exact traits just because those are the ones that matter the most, or they matter the most to most of the people. And so that certain cards last year, like 92 zone, when that leaked out, and that might have actually been MUT Leaks that leaked that, but when that leaked out, everyone was going for the same 92 zone cards. So I know that part of it has to do with the fact that just trying to keep almost like the market stable, in the sense that it's going to people are going to be going after different things based upon how they want to build their team. I've been talking about it all year, that this is great opportunity for people to be able to build their team the way they want to. But at the same time, it's just it's nice to have information, and I'm someone that likes to have more information, as much information as I can, before I make a decision. Some call it my fatal flaw, but yeah, I mean, for me, that's just something I want to do, and I think that most of the community, most of the people that play Madden play it similar, where they're really looking for as much information as possible. These are, I think the stereotype is people that play video games and played sports video games or shooters, that it's something mindless, and because of that, people think that the people that play it are not really thinkers, are not really people that go out and really think these things through. They're just just playing on a whim. They're just playing for their own pleasure, and that's really as I've seen, and most people have seen over the course of the past few years, that all this stuff is these are just people. The average Madden user is pretty intelligent, pretty smart, wants to make a lot of decisions based upon as much information that's out as possible, and that's why there's so many YouTube videos that show reviews of cards, and it's just interesting to me. I don't know exactly where Madden goes with this, because the community is just going to always be pushing for more information. I don't know exactly where Madden goes in terms of being able to give people enough information, but being able to keep something in reserve so that people have some sort of mystery. I think in the sense that I've started to see a little bit that, the way that the competitive Madden players view the game and the way that they want the game to be, there's sort of this riff, and I don't know if a lot of people think this is materializing yet, but there's sort of this riff that we're starting to see between the competitive scene and the average Madden player. And a good example of this would be the fact that there's, over the past couple of years, they came out with this thing called the tackle battles. And, essentially, for those of you that I'm sure all of you listening know what tackle battles are, so I'm not going to go in and describe them, but the tackle battles is a really great way to take a look at the divide between the average Madden player and this competitive community. And because when the tackle battles came out, about a year after they came out or so, and I think it's this year when they made the competitive game mode, which is all of I don't know if it's all of online, but it's at least all of salary cap, because that's how you compete for one of the Madden titles, and in a few different game modes, there was no tackle battles at all, and I think it's the in-solo battles is the same way. So if you're playing on all Madden, there's that's automatically uncompetitive. So you also see there used to be a screen in every single mode that would give you the hat count. So if the defense, for example, had 4 players or 5 players on one side, and you only had 4 blockers, it would show up as red, and the other side would show up as green if you had more blockers compared to the defenders. They took a lot of those things away. I don't think people mind the fact they also took away the fact that you can't see the last play. And I know there's a lot of people that were clamoring for that, especially a lot of the people that run the same play over and over and over again. But I think that the tackle battles is a good way to take a look at, because it's not really about the fact that they want different things. It's not really about the fact that they want to have. They don't want their play to be shown to the defense. What it has to do with is the reason I think the tackle battles is a huge thing, and it also has to do with why Madden is not releasing some of these things in terms of how often you get fumbles, or what's the formula for this or that, or whatever it is, because the way the competitive player wants it is so that if they do a certain input, they're going to get a certain result all the time, every single time. That's the way it is. If they do something some way, it's guaranteed to work in a certain way. So, we saw that a little bit with the 91 zone threshold last year, that a player would react a certain way if they had 91 zone. And so that was taken out this year. The closer you are to 99, the better chance you have to react like a 99 player and break on the ball when the quarterback is winding up. But it doesn't always work out that way. So sometimes you will break on the ball, and it's you have 81 zone, and you're just not going to get the same break every single time. So that produces a little bit of the randomness. That's a little bit, that's a little bit for the average Madden player. But the competitive players don't. That's really what it's about. Is it, in terms of, and I can understand, because it's for a lot of money. If you do things a certain way, you want to know how the game is going to react. The problem for me is that football is random. I mean, that's the reason we all watch it. That's the reason we all watch today. That's the reason we're going to watch, next week. Is it's random. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. There's a lot of things in there, and I think it's tough to separate from a video game what's random, because the fact that the video game's not human and not producing the same experience they would see on a Sunday, and what's random because of the fact that it's football. And so you can do this sort of thing where you have much less randomness in a game like Call of Duty or a shooter, where you know someone's going to jump in a certain amount, or you know a gun is going to fire a certain distance. But when you have a game like football, and I think this is one of the divides that's really going to have to be figured out for Madden, because there's so many people that want this information. When you have a game like football, you either have to choose if you're going to have certain inputs produce a certain result, or if you're going to leave things up to chance, and how much are you going to leave up to chance, and what percentage chance does someone have of doing something. And I really think that that's the big thing for the average Madden player, that they want to know the code, they want to know this, they want to know how things work, they want to know strength, they want to know the formula for how someone gets off a block shed. If my guy has, if your guy has a 90 and my guy has 80 run block, the 90 run block's not always going to get off the 80 run block. It'll probably get off him sooner, but every once in a while, the 80 run block is going to block well, or the 90 run block will block shed the wrong way, and the 80 will be able to block for the runner. It's that's sort of the divide there. So if you have a 90, let's say there's just two inputs, run block versus block shed. Well, you say for a 90, to be able to get off an 80, it's going to take, let's say, a second and a half. And that's just what it is. That's the formula. For a negative 10 for the offense, they're going to block shed in a second, or a second in 1 1/4 seconds. But that's not really the way the game of football works. I mean, if everyone has seen like a lineman that's just done a good job over the course of a game to a really good defensive player, or maybe they have a double team, or whatever it may be. And so I think that you can't just have this formula where if it's something that's released to the public, and if it's something that the Madden players have, they're able to sort of diagram. I mean, again, we're going to harken back to the fact that these are smart people. I like to think of myself as smart, but there are a lot of people out there in the community that are smart. Plenty of people that are modding the game as we speak for PC. I know that they're working on a model where they have certain things figured out certain ways so that abilities work on the PC. So we're not even going to touch that, but I know there are a few abilities. You can go out there and find them on yourself by yourself. But at the same time, like there are plenty of smart people that play Madden, and they will figure out these formulas, and they will figure out the percentage chance. It will be out there on Reddit, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, probably on MySpace, and it'll just be all over the place. And everyone will know if Cam Chancellor goes to hit, Latavius Murray, 2% of the time he fumbles. So, the second Latavius Murray, like let's say he's carried the ball 10 times and he's fumbled twice, people will be like, well, that's 20%. Like, this is ridiculous. And, meanwhile, the guy that has run 15 times and Murray hasn't fumbled once, and this is, a big sample size, because this is assuming that Cam Chancellor's hit sticking him every single time. That guy is laughing his head off because he knows he's beating the odds. And so I think that's it. You introduce a randomness, and you either, sort of don't tell people exactly what that randomness is, and they don't get mad that they're losing the odds, or you tell them and they get mad because they just happen to be the unlucky person that maybe didn't press cover ball, or maybe the other person's really good at hit stick, or they got 2 good hit sticks. These things that work. I think the thing is, with a Madden game, you're talking about 3 or 4 minute quarters. These things that work out in percentages work themselves over the course of a month's worth of games. We're talking about like baseball season type numbers. And when you take a look at a single game and your guy fumbles twice, you're going to be pissed because you may have lost the game because of it. And you're going to go back to EA and say, why did my guy fumble 20% of the time when he was hit on it with a hit stick? He's got this carrying. This is the formula. This is his. I looked at his card. His card's got 90 hit power. I've got 80 carrying. Yes, I'm gonna fumble, but what did I fumble twice? Why didn't I break tackle? He's got 85 break tackle to compare to his 80 tackling. That type of stuff. It's just almost like, it's not like it's a no-lose situation. I mean, a no-win situation. No-lose is that situation you try and get to. It's not like it's a no-win situation. It's just a very tough balance for EA and for the way they look at things. I think that it's not as simple. I think that as a community, we need to accept that there's randomness, and maybe having some of this information out there is nice to be able to have. But that's one of the reasons I started tracking my solo battle games. There's 13 of them. It's a good sample size. It's not a huge sample, but it's a good sample size. And it really gives me an idea if someone is really performing. I'm not going to keep track of every route they run, and I'm going to try and record the game so at least I know if they get open every once in a while. But it gives me a better sample size just to be able to track all 13 games, rather than say Saquon didn't break any tackles. Now, that's true. I've kept track of the stats, and he has very little yards after contact, or he has very little break tackles. It's over the course of 9 games, because when I was keeping track of it, they didn't have it on Monday and Tuesday. He broke one tackle. So I know now. So when I tell you that 81 break tackles, Saquon doesn't break tackles, I mean it. I've kept track of it over 9 games. Over a full 16-game season, he'd have 1.8 broken tackles. That sucks. Saquon to be out of the league at this point if he only broke 1.8 tackles. Mostly because of the fact that he probably would have his knees destroyed, because the Giants, the last game I saw him, they could not stop him from getting hit. So the point being is the fact that, when you take a look at these things as a Madden community, you need to take a look at them over the course of a large period of time. I know everyone is prone to see that some YouTuber just, guy gets a bunch of picks, or a guy fumbles a lot, or a guy throws interceptions, which, mostly is on the user. But, a player does something in a video or in the span of like 3 games that is higher than normal, and people just overreact. So I think that's a large part of it, in terms of the way that, I mentioned how smart the community is. It's also a passionate community, which is great, and I'm glad to be a part of that. But at the same time, I think that both of us, or all of us, that is, I hope there's more than 2 of us in the community, all of us are smart, but we're also passionate. And I think that that's a very volatile mix for a video game company to have. So again, this is that type of speech where I don't really offer any solutions. So it's just stating the problem. I don't really have any ideas exactly what will happen. I know for me, I can actually take this information in and be able to understand that it's over the course of 40 games compared to 1 or 2 games where a guy might fumble, or a guy might drop passes. So I would like to have the information, but at the same time, I think there's some people that ignorance is blessed for them, in terms of they sort of like the eye test, and yeah, they want the information, but if they had it, they wouldn't want it. So I don't know exactly where to go in terms of these these leaks and these formulas, and what do we do about them? Obviously every leak that's out there, people are going to see, but is that something that's good for the community in terms of the backlash if players don't perform the way that the formula says? or is that something that's bad? I mean, it could be something that's good in terms of, it's keeping EA in line. If a card is supposed to perform a certain way, and a lot of people are seeing that's not, and there's evidence of that, it might be good. But at the same time, I think that a lot of people have small sample sizes, and it's not like you're seeing that many people out there saying this guy's performing so much better than his averages. Again, it's that same type of idea that the people are beating the odds in terms of fumbles or break tackles or catches or accuracy on passes are not going to be shouting from the rooftops unless they're doing a video or review. But those are few and far between. I think most of you'd see that negative, and just because of the nature of who we are as human beings, you'd see that negative press for a card. So something to keep in mind. I'm sure I'll return to this as more things come out. But I do want to make sure I get to today's card wars. So, as I mentioned before, we have Saquon Barkley, the 88 overall rookie premier, versus Ezekiel Elliott. So he's got the 90 card, the ultimate kickoff. So off the bat, Ezekiel Elliott is 44 cap compared to Saquon's 39. So would seem to suggest a little bit that Ezekiel is a little better, or more rounded, or whatever it might be. Ezekiel is 6 feet 225 compared to Saquon's 5'11", 233. So Saquon's a little heavier, a few more pounds. Ezekiel Elliott's an inch taller, but it really doesn't come down to much of a difference. The speed is 89 for both of them. Strength is 78 compared to 77 for Ezekiel Elliott. They have the same agility at 91. Saquon has 90 acceleration compared to Ezekiel Elliott's 88, but his awareness is 79 compared to Elliott's 88. So I don't know exactly where that comes up. I'm sure it comes up on blitz protection, but that's the biggest divide in terms of physical attributes. The catching, so Saquon has 71 compared to Ezekiel Elliott's 67. Jumping, Saquon has 90, which is actually really, I know obviously he's a really good jumper, but it's not like you need that much jumping for a halfback compared to Ezekiel Elliott's 84. They both have 89 stamina, 90 injury compared to 88, but neither one of them going to get injured, so it doesn't matter. I don't know why they don't just take that out. So trucking for Saquon, I'll go down real quick. Saquon's got 88 trucking, 78 elusiveness, 81 break tackle, his ball carrier vision 75, stiff arm 79, spin move 83, and juke move 88. And then his carrying's 84. So, Ezekiel Elliott, on the other hand, the only thing that he has worse than Saquon is his trucking at 74. His elusiveness is 84, break tackle's 88, ball carrier vision's 90. That's the biggest over Saquon's 75. His stiff arm's 88. His spin move is 91, and his juke move is also 88, same as Saquon's, but his carrying's 89. I think the thing is, so Saquon has a lot of the, he has edge in some of those physical attributes, so the acceleration, the catching, the jumping. But for me, the difference is really that break tackle. So I touched on this a little bit earlier. I really think that break tackle is pretty big, and a lot bigger than maybe we initially would have thought, with 88 compared to 81. I would have thought the 81 is pretty good. Doesn't seem like it's getting the job done. So I think that and that being a huge part of the ball carrier vision, I always think the ball carrier vision is a weird thing, because you're controlling the player. Like, what in terms of vision are we looking at? Like, is it when you hold right bumper and they're able to sneak through the line easier? So I don't know exactly what that is. The other thing is Ezekiel Elliott has a little bit of an edge on carrying, because of the fact that turnovers are so huge. I think 84 is sufficient. It's just that 89 just gives it that little extra jolt. So I think that's the biggest thing. The stiff arm is nice at 86, but I don't know, the stiff arm is just not effective. The spin move is 91, and I think that's tier 1, so I think tier 1 starts at 88. But Saquon definitely doesn't have that tier 1 spin move at 83. The juke move is 88. I don't know exactly where the tier 1 for that starts, but they both have 88. But I give the edge to Ezekiel Elliott just because I know he doesn't have the catching. I didn't actually look at so that the route. He doesn't have the route running. So in terms of the short route running, he's -4 compared to Saquon. Medium is -8, and then deep is -9. His catch in traffic is -4, so 69 to 65. His spec catch is -9, so Saquon actually has 72 spec catch, which is pretty nice. But I think in terms of the fact that most of the time that you're throwing the ball is just generally out of the backfield and just swing passes or flats passes. The one thing I'll say is Saquon has a nice one cut that if you throw on level sail, he's able to actually just cut up the field if you're able to get him in the in the flats. So that is all at this point. I think for this week, Ezekiel Elliott takes it. Definitely feel free to like and subscribe to us, and send us questions. Send us ideas if you have an idea for the Ultimate Team players, the Card Wars. Thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you next week.